Hey guys, I don't often write things down, but I thought today I'd read some stuff that I was writing. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about the victim complex, and I'd play a few clips for you to hear, and we'll discuss them a little bit. There's a Ruby Rose clip of a British TV show she was on, where she basically shows exactly what it's like to be a Mangyna, and what it's like to have a man basically be abused and made to feel everything you're doing is wrong, and that you have no reason to ever talk to a woman or say that she's done something wrong or call her out. Anytime you question what a woman says, you're wrong. You know. We're also going to talk about the Mangyna that is a think tank. Hannah Cranston that's on there. The man that's on there, I forget his name right now. We'll see what it is when it's on there. I forget his name. But he basically spends his every show. He can't talk about reality, and whenever they have things where he has to give his opinion, you can see that he's worse than a politician in the way he backpedals. He will overly think about everything that he says because he's sitting next to a feminist and a victim, and anything that he says he has to double think and question to make sure that he doesn't hurt her sensibilities and whatnot. And then we're going to look at I had done a video I think last week on feminists and transgenders, and I thought I would play. There's a leader of the transgender movement, and she was talking to Caitlyn Jenner, and the things that she said to Caitlyn Jenner are well, feminists like 101, trying to act like a woman. Women get their idea of themselves from men. That Caitlyn Jenner just said something that, you know, she feels, but of course, because feminists don't allow women to feel what they want, they tell you what you can feel. And if you feel something happen, like I forget which one I was watching, but I was watching something the other day where they were talking about the girl from The Pretenders. She was raped, and she came out and said it was all her fault. She was walking around in panties and a t-shirt, and she was kind of drunk, and some guy, you know, ended up having sex with her. And she said it was her fault. She shouldn't have been doing that if she didn't want to turn the guy on. Oh, well, the feminists had a ball with that. And she came out and said what she felt, that she was 100%, it was 100% her fault, that if she wasn't walking around in her panties and a t-shirt, that she wouldn't have been raped, and it didn't really have anything to do with the fact that she was drunk, you know. Well, the feminists got off on that and went on a tangent and thought that no, she can't say what she thinks, that it was her fault. It was all the guy's fault. All had to do with the guy, because it's always the guy's fault, you know. You're only allowed to be a victim if you're not actually the victim, if you're just playing the victim, you know. So, first off, let's we'll go backwards. How about that? We'll flip backwards. We're going to start off with the Caitlyn Jenner thing. Listen to what this girl has to say about men, about how men basically, they don't, the thing that women never understand is that you don't get your value as a woman from men. You get it from Vanity Fair and all these cosmopolitan magazines and things like that. That's where you get your worth from. You get your worth from watching the Kardashians and trying to make yourself look as pretty as somebody on TV when you're not as pretty as somebody on TV. That's why they're on fucking TV. That's why you work at McDonald's, you know? So they have this idea, this victim mentality, where that's what they want to do. You know, they want to act like they're always the victim. So let's hear how they talk to Caitlyn when she says she would really feel, this is one thing with transgenders, you know, like I'm not gay, but if I was passable or if I was dressed as a woman, it would be really nice if a guy would come over to you, just come over to you and go like, wow, you're really pretty, and blah blah, you know, and talk to you and treat you like a real woman. That's like, for a transgender girl, that's like amazing. That's like something that you would just reel about. But of course feminists can't allow that to happen. And Caitlyn Jenner said she just would love if a man would treat her like a real woman. So automatically the person on there is like, well, what is a real woman? You know, what does that mean? You know, all this kind of shit. You know, like, you don't need a woman, you don't need a man to give you your stuff, you know. This is basically what ends up happening. So listen to what's said.
In a new clip from the show, Caitlyn tells her friend Jennifer Finney Boylan, quote, "It would be very attractive to me to have a guy treat me like a woman." So when Jennifer asks Caitlyn what she means, Caitlyn tells her, quote, that you would be treated like a normal woman. What does Caitlyn mean by a normal woman? Watch this clip to hear her explain.
Like any other woman on the street, and not make it this big trans thing or this or that, just a normal relationship.
How dare her? How dare her think that that's something she should aspire to, right? How dare her? This is how feminists think. She's saying what she feels, that she just would like to have a man treat her like a normal woman, like any other woman, you know. And of course, anytime you talk like that in general terms, feminists have to pick it apart because they got to find the victim in there. Everything is about being a victim. So this girl Jennifer, she's a trans girl as well. I think she's part of one of the trans movements. She's like the head of the trans community or something like this. She tells her this basically.
Relationship.
When she hears Caitlyn say this, Jennifer tells her friend, quote, "So you know what, Caitlyn Jenner? You are a normal woman right now, today. You don't need a man to make you a woman can make you a woman. It's a thing that women do. We look to men to give us self-worth. I think now that you're in the sisterhood, you know you have gone to such trouble to become a woman. Don't be a stupid one." That's a...
Yeah. Don't be a stupid woman to get your worth, your self-worth from a man. Yeah. You want to be a woman, and the thing that makes you feel like a woman is having a man show affection to you and treat you like a normal woman. Don't aspire to do that. That's not something you should want. You shouldn't want that as a woman. You know, you should aspire to be like a photoshopped woman in Cosmopolitan magazine. That's what you should aspire to be. You should aspire to be that woman in the Victoria's Secret catalog. That's what you should aspire to be. Aspire to be another woman that you'll never be, and not a lover or a friend of a man. That's something you shouldn't aspire to be, because that's something that everybody can do, which is why feminists love to point things out like this. Because it's not about making you feel like a person, you know. It's about anything that happens in your life, it's always men's fault, and you can always figure out a way to make sure that you blame men for it. That's basically what it's about. It's really sad to see, but this is how feminism is taking a hold in our society. They're making it to where no matter what you've done, a man is the worst thing you can be, you know. It's the worst thing you can do. Now, something that I wrote down was the word feminist is exclusive. This is the problem that I have with this word. It's not, they always talk about equality, but like I keep putting on my page, feminism is gender privilege masquerading as equality. It's not about inclusion, it's about exclusion, because you notice how they never talk about the men's issues, the fact that 130,000 men a year just in America alone are raped, that over 60% of the rape and domestic abuse claims are brought about by men. They never talk about that. They never talk about the fact that less than 1% of all of the domestic violence shelters in the United States, Britain, Canada, less than 1% are for males. That if you have a wife who is abusive and you're stuck in that relationship and you want to get out, there's really no way for you to get out. Because especially if you have kids with this abusive woman, you're stuck. You're stuck there. And if you do leave her, she's going to be able to have abused you for however long she abused you for, and she's going to get you to pay for the kids when you leave. And you're probably going to end up homeless on the streets. They don't have that for women. If a woman is abused or even says she's abused, she don't even have to really be abused. She can just say like, oh, he abused me. She can go to a shelter. In every city there's hundreds of shelters for women. But in most cities there's no shelters for men. None. And you can't find shelters for men, you know? And there's this thing I like to call the gender empathy gap. And what it is like, if it has to do with women, then we should feel sorry for them. If it has to do with men, fuck them, they're men. They're guys. Like, there's this guy, Chris Pratt. He was in a movie called Garden of the Galaxies. And he has like a dad bod, right? And lately, he's got really in shape. And his girlfriend is his wife is Anna Faris. And she was in that movie where she played a Playboy bunny that took over a varsity house and stuff like this. And she's really hot. She's a really hot girl. But as a few of our other MGTOW brothers have talked about, women have the need to take a really hot guy or an average guy and make him go beneath her. And since women, like I always say, women have absolutely nothing to offer a man besides sex and kids. That's it. They have nothing to offer. So they want to make men feel like they're above you, because they're not. There's no way a woman could be above a man, ever. You know, it's just never going to happen. So they have to make you feel that way mentally, you know. And that's a game they like to play. So she's mad now because he actually was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's gotten really in shape, and he's got a really hot body, and she's upset now, and she's not giving him sex because he's all concerned about working out and looking good and all this stuff, and he doesn't have his dad bod anymore. And it's really sad. This is basically feminism 101. You know, they're just if you want to do something in your life and you're married, well, you got to ask your wife first, even if that means you want to get in shape. If you say I want to get in shape and do something, you have to ask your wife first, because you're changing your diets and your habits, and you know you can't do that without asking your wife. I mean, fuck, how could you do something in your life without asking your wife? You know. So the other thing I was wanting to talk about too, and we'll get to these other two things here, is as a transgender myself, I try as much as I can. First of all, I'm a teacher, so a lot of the stuff that you see me do, I'm trying to educate you. I'm not just like blah blah, you know, just vomiting shit out. I'm trying to educate people. And what I see when you watch men's sites like MGTOW and other men's sites, I noticed this trend with women, and I noticed this trend with gays. Typically, it's this worthless, vapid bullshit. I get so tired of watching this empathetic, vapid bullshit that comes out on the net. And what I'm talking about is if you watch a woman's site on like YouTube or on any site, it's always makeup, clothes, hair, what I bought. You know, it's just same old. Every site is the same. What I'm eating, you know, it's all vapid bullshit. It doesn't have any substance. There's only like one person that I find relatively funny, and that's Jenna Marbles. And I think that's why she's got so many people that watch her. But it's very hard to find people that don't just do vapid, useless bullshit. And that's kind of, you know, even some of the really popular sites, they just seem like, it seems like nowadays with the way these kids are being raised, if you want to do something on the net, you have to do some completely vapid, worthless bullshit. You know, it's really sad. And from what I know, it seems that feminism, it exists in a vacuum. You know, that they don't. I looked at some studies about religion a while back, and I think this is one of the big problems. When you're raised by women like this, when you're raised in a religious dogma society, there's a problem. There's actually a literal brain problem that happens. Your hypothalamus actually gets destroyed at a very young age, because you scare children into thinking that they will die, you know, and that they're, you know, all this stuff, basically from religion. Well, the same can be done and said about feminism. When a feminist is raising a child, they drill it into the kid, basically, that everything he's doing is wrong, you know. And it's very hard for, when you grow up thinking in these Mangyna stereotypes, where I have to watch this is something that women don't do, like I did on my comedy video that I did, where I was talking about what you can't tell a woman, you know, you can never tell a woman. And these kind of things are very real problems for men, that we grow up basically having to constantly walk on eggshells and worry about what we say and what we do and how it will be perceived by a woman. And when we step away from that, which is what happens with MGTOW, we get to a point where, as MGTOW, we say, fuck you. I don't give a fuck what you think or what you need or what you want or what you think about my life and what I'm doing in my life. You go live your own life and fuck off. And that's what MGTOW is about. And I think that's what pisses them off most, is that they can't grab a hold of you and say, no, you can't do that, you got to do this, you can't say that, you got to do this, you can't say that, you got to do this. That's what feminists want to do. It's not about equality, it's about them controlling you. That's what it's about. Women have an inherent need, just in the last, like I've been saying, in the last 115 years, they have an inherent need to control men. That's what they want to do. And this clip with Ruby Rose points it out. And listen to what she does to him. The first thing she does is, he has a son with her, and the son asks, can I have something? And she says, you can always have whatever you want. You know, very telling. This is like Feminism 101. And then she goes on to, he ate some cheese that they had in the refrigerator, and he knew it. He ate it the night before, and he went and got cheese. And she convinces him that there's already cheese in the refrigerator. And then, so he doesn't buy it. And that's all he wanted was some cheese. So then he goes down to the store, you know, he goes back home. She opens up the refrigerator. There's no cheese. Then she convinces him that it's his fault. So then he runs back down to the store, and the store's closed now. So now he doesn't get his cheese. So now he's sad and he's walking back, and his son finds him, and he actually got the cheese, you know. So the son had the cheese that he wanted. So in the end, he gets what he wants, but he gets what he wants because his son gave it to him. So listen to this. This is Mangyna bullshit 101.
Billy, baby, you can have whatever you like. Can I always have a red one?
What's that?
Wills, what's that?
Oh, the little boy was just asking his mum.
No. What's that?
It's my favourite cheese.
We've got cheese at home.
Yeah, no, I think I might have finished that last night.
No, there's definitely a little bit left in the bottom of the fridge. I saw it this morning.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we're here, so I may as well just add it onto the old pile.
Now, something you'll notice is he is aware that he ate the cheese last night, but she decides to make him act like, because she isn't really aware. Last she knows, there was some cheese in the thing, but he ate the cheese last night. He knows he ate the cheese, and she didn't eat any cheese, so she doesn't know. Just the last she's seen, there was cheese in the refrigerator. So she wants to act like she knows, and because he's a man, obviously he couldn't know. He's dumb, right? So she acts like he's telling her she's a liar because she doesn't know, and he does. And you can't do that with a woman, obviously, right? You're not allowed to say that you actually know something because you're a man. You don't know anything, you know? And that's basically where we're at here. Listen to how she turns this around on him.
Oh, not really, because we've already got cheese at home. Seems stupid just to buy more cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Unless, of course, you think that I'm lying.
No. I just really want some cheese.
Well, there is some. Unless you think that I'm wrong. Is that what it is?
Victimhood, anybody? And there's a guy in the background at the cash register, and he's shaking his head like, don't fuck with her, man. She's one of these like hardcore feminists. He can tell by what she's talking about, and you're not gonna win. So the guy at the cash register is shaking his head like, don't even fucking try it, man. Just put the cheese back, you know?
No, I'm wrong. Sorry.
See, she got him to say he's wrong. Sorry.
I'll just put the cheese back.
Thanks, baby. Good boy.
Yeah, good boy. Like a little dog, right? Now they're home, and you see her, she comes to the refrigerator, and she decides to tell him that when there isn't any cheese in the refrigerator, and he had told her there wasn't any cheese in the refrigerator, that it's his fault that they didn't get any cheese at the grocery store, because she made him put it back, and it was his fault for eating the cheese because cheese is to be eaten, and so it's obviously his fault that they didn't get cheese because he didn't tell her that they didn't have cheese. Do you see the logic, the break in logic that these women have?
See, it's wrong. There's no cheese.
Yeah, I finished it.
You finished all of it?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to buy some more.
Oh, so the whole no cheese thing, that's my fault. Is that what's happening?
I'd say so.
Well, I mean, we were at the, there was cheese for sale.
Will's?
Mangyna, anybody?
What's the, oh, that looks like...
Is it my fault that there's no cheese in that fridge?
What do you think, guys? Is it her fault there's no cheese in that refrigerator? I mean, he did eat it, and then he did tell her that there wasn't any cheese, and then he did try to buy some more, and she told him not to, but would you say that it was her fault that there was no cheese in the refrigerator? I mean, they were just at the grocery store.
No.
Because who ate it all?
Yeah, I know, I ate it all.
Not me. You did.
No. Sorry.
Sorry. He tells her he's sorry for eating all the cheese which was in the refrigerator to be eaten, and chances are he's the one that bought it in the first place. So he's apologizing for eating the cheese that he bought that's in his refrigerator when he told her that they didn't have any because he ate it, and then she told him no, he didn't need to buy any because there's cheese in the refrigerator. And only a woman could turn that around onto you and make you feel like that's your fucking fault. You know? And get a Mangyna, I should say, to say it's his fault and he's sorry. He's fucking sorry. Well, I tell you what, he sure in the fuck is sorry. One sorry-ass son of a bitch, that's what he is.
That's okay. But just next time, just tell me. Okay, so we can get some more. It's just cheese. Thanks, Puppet.
Next time, just tell me, so we can get some more. I think he did tell you. Okay, now we're going to talk about Think Tank. Because we have Mrs. Cranston and what's this guy's name? John Idarola or something. I think that's his name. And this guy, I think he's probably in his late 20s, early 30s, probably around 32, 33, something like that. And he spends his entire time on the show pandering to this like 21, 22-year-old girl. And any time he says anything, you can see he consistently says something and then backpedals. But what I really like is you'll hear him in this thing, he throws out MGTOW. He throws it out there. Like, yeah, it's all fucking bullshit and I hate the way women treat men and the way they put this bullshit on men, and then he backpedals and he rolls back with it. And the look on her face, but then he backpedals to try to get her to where she doesn't even like call him out on it. But his entire demeanor on every show, especially when they're talking about things that men think about women, they'll read like a comment of something that a man thinks about a woman, and he will say something about it, and then you can see his wheels are just turning and smoke is burning out of his ears, and he's trying to think of a way to say it when you can see that he doesn't really think any of this shit. It's really hilarious that he has to think so hard to not hurt the sensibilities of his feminist guest, his feminist host. You know, it's really hilarious. So listen to this; it's hilarious.
That's just the way it is, I think. But I generally think, whereas women might think, some women, that a man being a virgin means that he is unskilled, or maybe he couldn't find sex, or...
Now, watch the way... This is a psychological thing that we use in the psychological industry, where when somebody is speaking, if they're speaking very clearly and very, very forwardly, they probably know what the fuck they're talking about. But when you hear somebody say something and then they backpedal, and then they say something and they backpedal, and then they say something and they backpedal, and you can see that they're saying something and then they don't know if they really meant to say it that way, so they have to pull a little bit of it back in, and then they say something else and then they pull that back in, and they're constantly doing that when they're talking. They're not being truthful and they're not being honest. And that's basically what he does. That's his go-to move, because he's sitting next to a feminist. So he doesn't want to hurt her sensibilities. So that's his go-to thing. And you'll hear how he does that. When he's speaking, he'll say something very like matter-of-factly, and then he pulls that back in, and you'll hear him like say, oh wait, yeah, but wait, maybe they mean this, and it could be that, and that's basically, this is how dishonest people talk, you know.
Whatever. That's the sort of social pressure that we put on men to have sex, and then we down on them when they want sex.
Did you hear that? That's kind of the pressure that we put on men when they down on men, and then we down on them for wanting to have sex. And then watch her feminist rant right after this. She has to be the victim. So she's like, I don't think so. I think that it's 100 times worse for women. Yeah, of course, it's 100 times worse for women, right? Right, guys?
We just do that. In this case, I think men will assume, oh, well, she is pure, and I can teach her what I want sexually or whatever. She hasn't been touched by other people. There might, as I said before, there might be some women that see that about men, but I think it's more common that men would see that about women.
The whole time he's talking, she's like, you can tell it's like she's just seething inside, wanting to say something, and she's about to say something.
And so I think, generally, they wouldn't assume that she couldn't have had sex if she wanted to. They just say, oh, she chose not to. Which I think is sort of unfair, but I think that is what a lot of men would think.
See, like he says something that's very truthful, and then he says, and I think it's unfair, but, and then as soon as he gets done saying that, I think it might be unfair, but, and she goes right into her feminist tirade about women being the victim.
I agree with you. I do think it's unfair with what you were saying, that we basically pressure men to have sex, and then when they want it, we're like, okay, slow your roll,
there's something wrong with.
See, she agrees with him, but then she says she thinks it's 100 times worse for women.
Yeah.
Well,
or we judge.
I don't think society says there's something wrong with you when you want sex as a man. I think society says something's wrong with you when you want sex as a woman.
No, I think that I'm not saying they think it's wrong for you to want to have sex. It's that we critique so many different ways that you pursue it or talk about it or think about it or whatever.
We're going to critique that.
Yeah, but then...
See, if you're a man and you find a woman attractive and you want to have sex with a woman because you're a cisgendered person, you're creepy. Fucking creeper.
We can get into a whole conversation how we've created this thing of creepiness that we almost only apply to men. That
See, he's Mangyna. He's Mangyna, but he's speaking true. He's saying we can get into this later about how we've created this whole thing about men who want women and men who speak to women being creepy. You know, so he's basically putting out this narrative that's something that's complete bullshit, and he's kind of alluding to that, and that gets her to like.
I think stigmatizes men who are just unsuccessful in terms of finding sex, but we can get to that in another one.
All she does is she looks at the camera and like smiles a little bit, like she would love to talk about that and get into it with him.
I do think that in general, and do you disagree that people are easier on women who are virgins, even to 21, 25, 30?
Because we expect girls to be pure, we expect them not to have a lot of sexual partners, and when they deviate from that even slightly, they're sluts. And that's such an awful it's such an awful social stigma that both ends, both women and men face totally different sexual stigmas that they have to undergo and deal with those pressures for. But yes, I agree that women are much more able to be a virgin, I guess, in a relationship socially.
I do think overall, I think that I wonder, my inclination is to say that this affects both of the versions, the male to female and female to male, but I think that probably people are easier on women who've had a lot of sex in their life than they would have been 30 years ago or something like that. I don't know that
but they're still not as easy as they are in men.
You see how she just likes to fight? You know, anytime he says, I think it's easier than it was years ago on women, then she has to like throw out there like, no, it's not, no. Because feminists have this really hard thing. It's really hard for a feminist to see how good they got it. You know? You've got it fucking good. real good, with all the laws that have affected you, and the 1964 law that was signed in, so that you have equal pay. The fact that they've shown that women who get less grades and the same job doing a STEM field, because they're trying to get so many women in there, that it's not equal, first of all. So a woman that has less grades, less skills, will get the job over a man that's more qualified, because they have to get a woman in there. Once a woman is in there and she's doing the same job as a man, the fact is they're getting 110% of what a man gets. So if a man's getting, say, $22 an hour to do that job, the woman might be getting $28 to do that job, same job. So this whole pay gap bullshit is fucking bullshit, simple bullshit, you know. And that's what we got to deal with here. You know, it's this break in mentality that they got going on. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Although again, what the second version of that would be, I don't know that we've moved as much in terms of thinking it's okay for guys to put off having sex until later on in their life without being judged. But I think,
see, and you can tell this too. This is something that you can tell about people who are being dishonest. When you're trying to say something honest, but you think the person that you're speaking to is going to shoot down your opinion, what will happen is, whatever you think that's being honest, is you'll see the vocal pattern will go down, and they'll try to speak kind of softly when they say that, you know. And that's what he did when he said about men. He went down in his vocal thing. You can rewind this video and see what I'm saying. He went down and then he came back up, you know, to where he's like, and women do, you know, like that. That's basically what you'll hear them do.
I think that overall, I think that in terms of the caring about the numbers outside of high school or something.
And while he's saying this is what's really funny. While he's saying this, she's doing this with her head, and then she goes. So she's wanting to like say all kinds of stuff, but she's having to keep herself in check, because she doesn't want to go on a feminist tirade either, because she might lose her spot on this show. So she doesn't want to go off, and she has to keep herself in check. But you can tell off camera, she's like probably just going off. You know? The last thing I'll talk about is Megan Fox's divorce. Her husband used to be on some TV show back in the 90s or something, and last year they got into a car accident and got some money for it, and he says he can't work anymore. But they got a divorce, and she's making more money than him, and he did the whole thing that women always do. You know, he said that he's only been married to her for 4 years, but he's become accustomed to a lifestyle now that he's been living with her, and because of that, she has to pay him alimony. And it's on all the shows about how they didn't sign a prenup, and so she's having to pay him a bunch of money because he got used to this life that he has with her, and he can't work because he's been in this accident, and he has some back issues now or something like this. So all these shows are just like, I can't believe he's doing that to her and blah blah blah. But if it was a woman, you know, it would be perfectly fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, which is why I was talking about the gender empathy gap. You know, this idea that women are the only ones that can do these things, and these laws that they've enacted, they don't realize they're supposed to be for both genders, but typically they're not. The deck is stacked in their favor, and they want to act like it's not. But then when a man, because of the way the law is written, is able to use those same laws against them, that becomes a problem. You know, that becomes a real problem, because you're a man. You know, this whole thing, man up. You know, you're a man. You're supposed to, you know, be able to support yourself and support your 3 ex-wives and your 16 kids, and still be able to work and have a life and not be homeless with nothing. You're supposed to be able to do that because you're a man. But if you're a woman, well, you got one kid, and now you don't have to work anymore in your life. She's supposed to live off you for the rest of her life, because she's became accustomed to sitting on her ass at the house, taking care of kids and watching soap operas, and cooking you shitty food, and giving you irrational bullshit like the Ruby Rose thing. You know, you'll have a wife that acts like that to you, and then when you say, well, my wife is abusive, they'll laugh at you. But that right there was abuse. When you make another person, no matter if it's your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, if you make another person feel like they're stupid, and that's what your whole thing is, and then when it's found out that you're the stupid one, and then you make that person tell you it's still your fault, and they say you're sorry, and you have to live your whole life worrying about that, that becomes a big problem. And this is how feminism thinks relationships should work. That they're always right. They're never wrong, and it's always men's fault. And this is a big, huge problem that we need to solve, and I don't think it's going to get solved because women don't want to solve it, because all of this stuff works in their favor. They'll never solve it as long as we participate in it. And that's what I think is great about MGTOW, and what's pissing them off so much about MGTOW is they are mad because MGTOW men are educated. We know what the fuck we're talking about, and we don't listen to their bullshit, and we don't pander to them, and we don't give a fuck what they have to say, and we call them out every time they use false facts, and they hate that shit. And we don't fall for their little bullshit where, like, what I like to do is I like to throw out things, you know, throw out bones to them and let them go off, because what will happen is, it's like the old saying about giving them enough rope to hang themselves. Feminists are so easy to do that because they get so upset so quickly, and they'll just start blurting shit out, and you can let them talk and talk and talk until they're blue in the face, and they'll end up saying things that make themselves look stupid. And they'll end up throwing shit out there that has nothing to back it up because they'll get so angry. It's kind of like if you know anything about fighting, if you get in a fight with somebody, the guy you got to worry about is the guy that's really calm. The guy that's yelling and pointing at his fist and acting like a fucking idiot, that's not the scary guy. The guy that he's doing that to, that is just standing there looking at him, waiting for a punch to happen or waiting for something to happen from this fuckhead that's sticking his finger in his face, that's the guy you got to worry about. Because that guy's probably going to kill you as soon as you do anything to him. He's just waiting, you know. And that's what we got going on here, you know. So I think I talked about everything I was going to talk about. I have a couple other things I was going to talk about the TYT network, how they're turning into this kind of pandering to feminist thing. Even Cenk Uygur and all these things, they have Anna Kasparian on there, and I think most of the MGTOW guys know she's like feminist hardcore. And they're starting to do this whole backpedaling thing as well. They're getting all this Mangyna bullshit going down now. It's really sad to see. It's sad when you see something where men have no space anymore. Men have no place anymore that's safe for them. You can't go anywhere without the effects of feminism infiltrating what you do and telling you that everything you're doing is wrong. If you like this video, got any questions, comments, leave them in the section below. If you like this video, share, like, and subscribe, and have a nice day.